A couple of months ago in fall 2021, when I had the golf course open for one of our pop-up weekends, an artist came here and introduced himself. I had never met him. His name was Jeffrey Crussell, and he had recently sold a property that he had had in Joshua Tree for many years, and he wanted to do something here. He was missing being in the desert. He had this long-term project of building things in the desert, and he no longer had his property in the desert, so he thought maybe he could build something here. And he just sort of looked around, and I was like, this guy's really interesting, really interested in the project. And that's one of the things that we do at Mojaveland is we support artists and sort of their big dreams about making something. So a few weeks later, he came back to me, he said, would you send me pictures of, the old windmill base for the well? And so then he started coming out here. He probably came out here 5 times. He slowly built this sort of amazing project. Jeffrey Crussell, welcome to Mojaveland. Today we're going to be asking him about angling. It's finished now, and we're going to talk about sort of the whole how it happened. So Jeff, why don't you talk a little bit about how you first came here and got inspired?
I think it was June or July last year. I came to see the mini golf in the early stages, and I walked by what I call a ruin, which was the old windmill. I didn't quite know what it was or about it, and I just kind of scratched my head a little bit, but I ended up leaving. And then I think I called you a couple days later and said, would you take a picture of that for me? But I just simply couldn't get it out of my head. So it was something I kept churning about. What could that be, and what is it?
Talk a little bit about how the pandemic sort of tripped you up as an artist.
It kind of put a damper on creativity for me. I got to the point that there wasn't anything going on in my head that I felt that I would want to spend time doing, because I felt like I was fighting the battle of the virus. Wherever I went, whatever I did, the simplest tasks were overwhelming. It got to the point that I didn't have any extra energy or any extra space, I suppose, in my head to be creative or feel creative. But this, for some reason, was more haunting, I suppose. I couldn't shake it. I couldn't shake the idea of what it could be. So originally, when I came out to look at the structure again after the initial visit, I had built a model and did a variety of sketches based on what I thought the direction was going to go in. Once I got back out here, implementing those ideas had to change slightly because angles and the direction of some of the members were different than I thought. So initially with the windmill, when it was built about 40 or so years ago, usable, when they disassembled it, they left these pieces of steel in the ground. I've used those and attached to those with these new members and tried to mimic what was going on. In the model, there's also blades that resemble what the windmill blades would be, and also the act of water and the concept of what the previous owner here was doing with taking the water and filling some lakes here.
This is like a chandelier vortex, which symbolizes the water that would have been rushing around in the well, and the well would have fed the ponds, the trout ponds. These represent the scales of the fish that would have been here. Talk a little bit about your connection, the projects you've done in the desert in the past, because this is a little bit of a continuation, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, most everything I do has a tendency of being based on recycled items. I like to use whatever I find. Probably about a third of this is recycled from what I found on the property here, and then also at your other property. They're all recycled pieces of wood that I found laying around. The original concrete will remain the same, and keeping that aesthetic of originality. Being out here for as long as I have, I've been familiar with other artists and sculptors. North Parafor's site I visit several times a year, and watch how that kind of decomposes or breaks down over the course of time, which I feel this is going to be the same. My goal here is just to allow it to be and let the elements adjust it.
Well, Jeff, we are so pleased to have angling as a permanent sculptural installation at Mojaveland. Thank you so much. I love it. Everybody loves it. The kids are just mesmerized by the shape and the colors, and it's just a wonderful